33 degrees, a seagull, and a corpse. Alex Riley. When you hear the word golf, you picture quiet old geezers whispering about taxes and bad knees. But when Max suggests a game of golf, it always ends in either an arrest or an autopsy. That's me, Alex Riley, private detective, and I should have known better than to agree to a weekend with Max. He'd sold it as a break wheel chill, hit some balls, an idiot that I am thought he meant the sport. Turns out, he meant old money clubs, fancy cars, and chats about stock portfolios. We rolled into Pacific Grove Country Club on Friday evening, a private golf haven on the coast. Everything was white, pristine, and suspiciously quiet, like a high-end prison for millionaires. Max was over the moon. He dreamed of playing here since he was a kid. Me, I dreamed of sleep. Saturday, 8 in the morning. The sun burned like the truth. I was holding a cup of coffee that somehow smelled like gasoline, trying not to look at the field. Too green, too perfect. I miss rain and dead bodies. Naive of me. A scream tore through the morning like the opening chord of a good tragedy. At the 13th hole, someone bellowed, sprinting onto the green like they'd just spotted a tiger in the grass. Max choked on his water. I took a calm sip of my coffee. That tone panic laced with horror was all too familiar. You know, the kind where someone hasn't just seen death, but death with a twist. We headed over well, more like we were practically dragged there in a golf cart. The 13th hole was empty. Almost. On the edge of the path, among the pristine gravel, lay a man in white trousers, white gloves, and a damn golf club sticking out of his chest like a flag on conquered land. I knew who it was immediately. Edward Denville, president of the club. A man who lived like he owned the world, someone who could buy 2 small countries and forget where he parked them. He was dead. It might have been elegant, if not for a couple of details. First, half his mustache was shaved off, diagonally. Second, he was wearing white leather gloves. The problem? He hated gloves. Everyone knew that. He was allergic to latex, and the club knew it, especially his wife. Max whispered, "You think this could be an accident?" I turned to him, slowly pulling a box of mints from my pocket. Max, when a guy's lying there with a golf club through his chest, it's not an accident. It's style. He swallowed hard. We just came here to play. I nodded. Well, now we're playing, just not with a ball. Jasmine, who's too good a golfer. In a good play, a woman always appears. And if she's beautiful and quiet and knows how to hold a stick, then someone's going to die. While the police tried to look busy and Max asked unnecessary questions, I just stood by the body. The sun was hitting my eyes, the smell of blood mingling with the morning dew. I squinted and finally noticed. On the lapel of the dead man's jacket is a thin lipstick mark. Not a kiss, a smear. Quick, like someone wiped their lips in a hurry. The color is not the classic red, but a wine Bordeaux. Fashionable, bold, and expensive. Not the shades worn by billionaires' wives. It's the kind of shade worn by women who are used to hiding in the shadows. I was about to leave when I noticed her. On a neighboring hole, alone, with perfect posture and silent confidence in his movements. Golf is boring, but she was making it a style. Tall, wearing a white baseball cap and goggles like an airline pilot. Brown hair pulled back in a ponytail. Every time she hit the ball, it was as precise as a gunshot. And then she was smiling softly, like she knew she was being watched. Or maybe she knew who was watching. I walked over. She wasn't surprised. She just took off her glasses, and I was drowned in a gaze the color of wet steel. Did you play with Mr. Danville this morning? I asked. No, she said. Her voice was low, slightly smoky. London? New York? Or is it a deliberate accent? I play alone. I always do. As always. And yet, do you know he's dead? She nodded slowly. I heard it. A scream. My instinct was to hide. Why? Because I'm a journalist, she said. But please, no one. I'm here on assignment. You can call me Jasmine. I didn't believe it, but I wrote it down. What's the assignment? She bowed her head. I'm working on an investigation. Black money, fraud. Golf is a front. It's where the deals are made. Some of them even involve blood. Max came up just in time to ruin everything. Riley, are you flirting? Right next to a dead body? That's a record, even for you. I smiled. Jasmine, this is Max. Max, this is Jasmine. She's a journalist, or a spy, or an assassin. I haven't decided yet. She nodded to Max. Are you both working on this case? Well, I'm kind of on vacation, Max mumbled. And he never does, she added, looking at me. 15 minutes later, I opened the bar at the club. Yesterday's security footage is gone. And behind the bar, I found a flash drive neatly hidden under the bill holder. And there's a short excerpt on it. The shadow of a woman with wine lips leaning to the body, kisses, and then wipes his mouth and walks away with a slight limp. And guess who's limping on their left leg today? Jasmine Rose. Every club for the elite is not about sport. It's about power. Power you can hold in your hands and serve with your morning coffee. And Edward Denville wasn't just a member of the club. He was a god. And gods have enemies. Alex Riley, Edward Denville was no saint. And he didn't pretend. He didn't buy expensive suits. He bought the people who wore them. He didn't believe in friendship, but he believed in contracts, especially verbal ones. Without a trace, in 2 years, he transformed the Pacific Grove Club from a dying place for old men to a venue for informal negotiations, money laundering, and innocent bets. Millions of dollars worth of agreements were being made on hole number 7. On hole number 13, erased debts. And if you didn't pay, it wasn't your card that was taken away, it was something more important. Your reputation. And sometimes your voice. Someone was playing a game with him that he couldn't win, I told Max. And then he made the final blow. To the heart. We were sitting in the caddy room, where golfers usually discuss clubs, not bodies. This, I pointed to an old schedule board, is his handwriting. Edward created a betting system on the club's players. Unofficial. You bet on someone else's game, you win, and part of the profit goes to him. If you lose, you pay yourself. Max stared at one line, GR minus 12K. Jasmine Rose, I said quietly. She lost, and now he's working undercover. It's too timely. But she's a journalist, or a blackmailer, or just a pawn. But if someone wanted her to lose, someone else won. Find out who it was. Max is gone. I'm going to another character on this chessboard. Lance Cooper, a former Marine, now a golf instructor with the face of a boxer and the personality of a Norwegian thriller. He practiced alone, as if he was preparing for a duel rather than a tournament. Hockey sticks are delicate, he said without even turning around. You know why some people choose heavier ones? Because sometimes you have to kill, I suggested. He froze. Then he laughed. But there was no mirth in his voice, just emptiness. I didn't kill Edward, he said. I hated him. He made my wife lose, blackmailed her. She left. All that's left is this job. And you stayed? He nodded to wait for the moment. But killing him is not my style. I thought he'd die of boredom or old age. Not on the whole. Not like this. I cast a glance at him. Did you know about the stakes? He smiled. Everybody knew. They just didn't know what they were playing at. I walked out of the room. The sun was setting, creating long shadows across the lawns. And in one of them, I noticed her, Jasmine, standing barefoot, glass in hand, looking out at the horizon. I approached quietly. Why are you limping? She didn't turn around. Because sometimes the truth is hard to bear, especially if it's in a size 38 shoe. I squinted. You know what happened to the flash drive. She looked at me, eyes like the ocean after a storm. I gave it to you, because you're the only one who doesn't play. For now, Chapter 4, Finger in the Sand. There are traps in golf. They're called bunkers. It's the same thing in life, only these bunkers aren't balls. It's other people's mistakes. Alex Riley. The day is winding down. The sun is yellow as old whiskey, and the field is like a stage on which everything is frozen. Everything but me. Max disappeared somewhere, probably trying to buy a golf club signed by the victim as a souvenir. I'm walking, alone, watching, listening. The sand under my feet squeaks like an old radio. On the 13th hole, everything is lit clean. The police showed off, took a couple of photos, and, as always, left with the wrong thing. I reached the nearest bunker, a sand trap to the right of the path, and it, like a good book, had a chapter left in it that they missed. At first, I thought it was just ball marks, but then I looked closer. One trace, deep, oblong, clearly indented, not the ball. Finger. I squatted down, blow. The sand shattered, and beneath the top layer, remained the imprint of something larger, almost an entire palm. It's like someone fell, or crawling, and more importantly, the trail is fresh. It's wet, which means it was left behind after Edward's death, or during. I pulled out my cell phone, snapped a couple of pictures, and started mentally constructing a picture. Let's say the killer didn't finish the first blow. Let's say Edward got out and crawled. Why here? Maybe he wanted to hide, or hiding something. I started going over the sand with the palm of my hand, carefully, like an archaeologist, and soon her fingers came across the fabric. A piece of black glove, latex, there's blood on it, and next to it, a thin metal object, like a toothpick, only jagged. Pulled it out. It was a golf club nail. Thin, sharp, broken at the end, slightly bent like it's been picked at. Or someone, and then it hit me. He was trying to get her out, I muttered. Trying to get the club out of his chest, or get something out of it. The clubs on this club have hidden containers on them. Small, like a USB drive. Perfect if you want to transmit something discreetly, like dirt, or a flash drive, or a contract on someone's head. I looked at the footprints again. There was another one there, a boot with a narrow toe, a woman's but with an unusual tread. I've seen him before at the bar, and only one woman in this club is wearing those shoes today. And no, it's not Jasmine. This is Cassie Danville, dead man's wife. Beautiful, cold, stylish, and very loose for a widow. I straightened up and pulled out my phone. Max answered on the third beep. "Where have you been?" he mumbled. "Max, we have a problem." "What again?" "Looks like the killer didn't just kill, he was trying to hide something, or destroy it. And one of the women lied about not being there. I found her footprints. Right in the trap." He fell silent. "You think it's Jasmine?" I smiled. Number Jasmine can't act. Cassie, on the other hand, she never misses, especially when she's aiming for the money. Sometimes silence is not the absence of words. It's an interrogation wrapped in a smile. And Cassie Danville was his absolute champion. Alex Riley. I caught her on the terrace, sitting alone, against the ocean. She was wearing a black dress, modest, like something out of a 60s catalog. Her hair was gathered, face like a mask. No pain, no boredom, no shadow of emotion. Just a look. Straight, piercing. ES. I got the insurance. I got the club. The man comes closer. "Mrs. Danville?" I nodded. "It's just Cassie now," she replied calmly. "I don't have titles anymore, except for the most beautiful widow on the coast. But that's temporary." I sat down next to him. There's a glass of champagne on the table, almost full. "Isn't it a little early?" She took a sip of her drink. "Or late. It all depends on your point of view. Who are you?" "Not the police, and not from the club, and too smart to be an instructor. Alex Riley, private detective." She smiled. It was only by the faintest movement of her fingers that I realized she tensed. Just a little bit. Do you often vacation on golf courses with dead people?" "Number, only when they invite me," I replied. Pause. "Your husband knew that you hated him?" She lowered her eyes, but only for a second. "My husband knew everything, except one thing. That I know how to wait. And waiting is a woman's greatest weapon, Mr. Riley." I pulled a photo of a footprint in the sand out of my pocket. "Do you recognize it?" "Trace, female, nice heel, Prada, last year's collection. There's 3 of them at the club. I'm one of them. You want me to admit I was just walking in the sand? I want you to explain what you were looking for in the trap while your husband was bleeding 10 meters away." She paused, puffed on a thin cigarette. The ash fell on the table accurately, neatly. "I didn't kill Edward, even though I dreamed of it. For 3 years, he was a monster. Controlled my life, my money, my body. And I had a plan. Divorce, scandal, lawyers. But someone's ahead of you?" She looked at me. For the first time, without the mask, I saw the body. I was scared. Not for him, for me. And yes, I went to the bunker because I knew he always kept flash drives in his club, just in case. And I wanted to take your freedom." She nodded silently. "Did you find anything?" "Just blood. Maybe someone else's, I looked at her, holding herself too perfectly. Not an ounce of brokenness. And that was more frightening than panic. "Did you know about the stakes?" Of course he did. Edward did business on losers. He bet on the weak and made them even weaker. And then I got him, including Jasmine, including everyone. I stood up. You didn't kill him, but you knew who did. And you don't say anything because that's your last trump card. She raised her eyes to me, cold. No, Mr. Riley, I'm not saying anything because in this story, all the good ones are dead, and the bad ones haven't realized they've lost yet. I walked out without turning around. Lava 6, the flash drive. Everyone hunts flash drives as if they're the truth. But the truth isn't in the records. It's about who turned them on and when. Alex Riley. She was waiting for me in the old shadowy room where they usually pour coffee for the members. This time, no coffee, no people. Just silence and Jasmine, like a ghost against the lucid background of the blinds. I have it, she said in lieu of a greeting. I hope you mean the flash drive and not the STD, I replied. She didn't smile. She just nodded and handed me a tiny silver device. It's not a copy. It's an original. Edward gave me access to the surveillance system. He wanted me to leak it in case something happened to him. But now, she was silent for a moment. I don't know what to do about it. Okay, I said. Then I know. The office was empty. I borrowed the laptop from Max, or rather, I took it out of his bag while he was looking for a brush charger. I put the flash drive in. There was one video, no caption, 5 minutes, secure file, turning it on. The first shot is Edward's office. It's night. He sits with his back to the camera. Across from him is a figure, a man, strong, short haircut, wearing gloves. No face visible. Where's the original, Edward? The voice is muffled, electronically distorted. You know it's paid for. I'm not leaving without him. Edward slowly turns around. He's drinking whiskey. He smiles. You're gonna lose anyway. I have copy. For a moment, the light from the lamp is reflected in the metal plate on his arm. Badge. Not a cop. Military. Private security. You think you're running the betting, Edward, but the bets aren't on golf anymore. The stakes are life, and you lost. A sharp jerk. The camera goes out. File ends. No blood, no murder, just a hint, just a threat. I lean back in my chair. It's not a jealousy killing, not out of greed. It's a clean contract. Someone bought Edward's death. Professionally, it's official. And apparently, through the very underground betting system that he himself built, Jasmine looked at me as if trying to read the answer from the look on my face. You can't see a face. I tried to find out who it was, but it's not your job, Jasmine. Whose is it? It's mine. Now it's a sure thing. I stood up. Someone in that club didn't just kill Edward. Somebody bet on it. And he won. Who got it? Sometimes you catch a killer not by blood, not by fingerprints, but by a check. Money doesn't lie, especially when it's silent. Alex Riley. There was one room in the clubhouse that even the owners weren't allowed in, the betting room. A small server bay where the membership betting management system was kept. Edward was a genius. He turned elite sports into a casino without roulette. Every member is a potential player, and every player is a hostage. I went down there disguised as a checker. Max had his back, standing at the entrance and arguing with security about the age of tequila at the bar. 5 minutes for everything. Inside, it smelled like ozone and vintage money. I went into the base. I entered the login I got from Edward's old notebook. Green King 67. Access granted. The system was simple. Date, rate, amount, condition, result. We bet on everything. Whether Jeremy would win on hole 6, whether the rain would fall, whether the cook would be fired. But one entry stood out from the rest. Date, 2 days ago. Bet, Ed won't finish the weekend. Amount $150,000. Condition, natural causes or accident. Result, pending, bitter. ID number 9119, Foxglove. I froze. Foxglove. It's not a name, it's a code name. Foxglove is beautiful and poisonous. Note, foxglove is foxglove, a poisonous plant, one of the oldest methods of poisoning. Betting on death. Death is indirect. That is, if he is killed and is written off as a heart attack, an accident, even suicide, the bet will play out. Genius. I started punching in the ID, financial tie-ins, entries. It's all on the high end. And finally, a lead. Related account. CD. Transfers from Denville Holdings corporate account. Division. Hospitality and special events. I lean back in my chair. Number? It can't be. Cassie Danville. She's not just a wife. She's a co-owner. And the transfer is bypassing the underlying accounts through an old fund she managed before the marriage. Brilliant, discreet, legally clean. I stepped out. Max met my eyes. Did you find it? Yes, I answered. And now everything she didn't say was the loudest scream. Who bet on death? When you come to a killer with evidence, it's not the end. It's the beginning of a new game. Because a real killer doesn't kill with his hands. He kills by choice. Alex Riley. Cassie sat in the same chair as last time. Only now, instead of champagne, it's a cup of tea. The image of the widow is played to perfection. Quiet pose. The reflection of the sunset in his glasses, and a silence that could be cut with a knife. I walked in uninvited and sat across from me. Slowly. With intent, as someone who already knows. You knew it wouldn't stop, didn't you? I said. The bet, $150,000 on your husband's death. ID number 9119. The alias is Foxglove. Clever, poisonous, feminine. She looked at me. For a long time, it was like she was deciding whether to kill me with silence or talk to me. I didn't kill him, Alex. Number. But you paid for him to die, and that's worse. I pulled out a clipboard, showed me the transcript, or rather a copy of it. An account in the name of the foundation Cassie ran before her marriage. A foundation set up by her father, the one that Edward didn't look in, because he didn't think she had anything to spend it on. It was an investment, I said, a death for freedom. You knew the divorce would cost you everything. Death, on the contrary, will give you everything. Control of the club, money, the victim's reputation, and a ticket to a new life. Cassie sighed. You don't understand. Enlighten me. Edward was already dead. Just, not physically. He was rotting, he was blackmailing people, he was ruining lives, he played God, and I tried to leave, but he said if I left, he would destroy me. And you know what I did? I nodded. You bet She looked toward the sunset. Quiet. I thought it was just a scary system, just words. But the day I activated the bet, I got a message. Game accepted. The finish is within the field. I didn't know who would perform or how. I just pressed the button. Did you realize it wasn't just a bet? I didn't realize it would be so fast. I pulled out a second paper, the last bet, the one that got played. The next day, this account received the winnings, but not all of it. Half going to another ID. So you weren't alone, Cassie. Who else knew about your decision? She turned pale. His fingers clenched. The tea was left half drunk. I told Jasmine, silence. 1 second, 1 minute. I thought she'd help. She helped, but I didn't know she could. I stood up. See, Cassie, you didn't kill your husband. You just opened the door, and someone walked through it. Jasmine, some women are like fireworks, loud, blinding, and disappear quickly. And Jasmine was like smoke after a gunshot, lingered in the air, and smelled like the truth. Alex Riley. I found her at the edge of the course. She was standing on the very border between golf and the ocean. The sun was setting, coloring the water the color of vintage wine. She didn't turn around like she knew I was coming. Or, waited. Beautiful ending, I said. Endings are for books, Alex. Life goes on, even after death. Especially when you were involved. She turned around, slowly. Eyes calm, tired, unforgiving. You already know everything, don't you? She said. I nodded. Not everything. Just that you were there for me, knew about the bet, and may have accelerated the outcome. I didn't kill Edward, but you knew he was going to die. Yeah. Chuckles. Silence. Pause. The waves were pounding the shore. He destroyed my sister, she said. Threw her out of his system like a losing bet. She tried to fight back. She sued. And then, gone. He closed everything. The club, the case, her. It's like she never existed. Cassie told you about the bet? Yeah. Chuckles. And you? I just, redirected the request. I got the paper. Last ID number 4888, performer. Sundown. It's not you. No. But you knew who it was? Jasmine averted her gaze. I knew he was coming. That it only comes once. He works for the betting system. He's like the last move in chess. When you click yes, it's up to him to decide how, when, and where. Who is he? I don't know. No one does. He's a legend. I've heard he only shows up at high stakes and only when someone important dies. I slowly sat down on the bench next to me. You didn't push the button. No, but you knew what was gonna happen. Yeah. Chuckles. Silence. You're not hiding, Jasmine. She smiled. Sad. I've already lost everything. There's nothing left to hide. What about Cassie? She survived. I didn't. It's a paradox, isn't it? I stood up. Did you tell me the truth? No, Alex. I've told you what you're ready to hear. And you know what? That's enough, I replied. I walked away, and behind me was the woman who wrapped death in truth. and a sunset that doesn't judge anyone. Epilogue. Just silence. Some murders are not about justice and about balance, like a scale without hands. You don't know who's right, but you definitely feel like someone's down. Alex Riley. The club is up and running again. Balls are rolling across the fields again. Clubs glistening in the sun. Everyone pretends like nothing happened. Edward was buried quickly. No mourning, no pathos. Cassie is now the official owner of the club. Renamed Hole 13. Called it New Hope. Ironic. Jasmine left. She left a flash drive, a note, and silence. She wasn't looking for forgiveness. And she didn't ask for oblivion. Max asked, "You don't want to tell the police?" I just looked at him. "What do you want me to say, Max? What's a bet to kill? That those who did nothing are guilty of murder?" He was silent, and then he said, "So it was a perfect hit?" "No," I replied, "just a good calculation. Precise. In the heart. Not for revenge. For the sake of silence." I sat down on the bench where hole number 1 started. Strike 1. Start of the game, but the game is long over. It's just that no one heard the final whistle. I got a cigarette. Lighter, I took a drag, and he looked off into the distance. Because sometimes the only thing you can do is to prevent someone from placing the next bet. Alex Riley. My name is Alex Riley, and I'm a private detective. It sounds like the start of a cool movie where I'd be sipping whiskey, smoking cigars, and saving damsels from villains in trench coats. But reality isn't a movie. My office is an old garage on the edge of town, reeking of motor oil and unfulfilled dreams. There are a couple of faded posters on the wall, spin-up girls and whiskey bottle sand, a pile of unpaid bills on the desk that I ignore with the stubbornness of a deadbeat dad dodging alimony. The coffee in my mug has gone cold, but I take a sip anyway, bitter like my life. I'm a former cop. They kicked me out of the force for insubordination. But let's be real, I just don't like being told what to do, especially by dim-witted bosses with even dumber orders. Now I'm my own boss, and that's damn nice. Even if I get paid sporadically and my clients are often as crazy as the crooks I chase. The door creaks, and in walks Max. 25 years old, his uniform fits him like it's on a hanger, and his eyes are burning with enthusiasm, like he just saved a kitten from a tree. Max is a police officer they assigned to me after I accidentally meddled in one of their cases. Officially, he's my babysitter, but I see potential in him. Maybe even a partner if he stops being so damn righteous. "Riley, have you heard?" he says, practically bouncing with excitement. "James Hartley, the millionaire, was stabbed at his party. The police are stumped." I lean back in my chair, propping my feet on the desk. Hartley? That fat bastard with a yacht and 3 mistresses? Interesting. And what, your bosses dropped the ball again? Max frowns but nods. They're at a dead end. But you're not planning to get involved, are you? I smirk down the rest of my coffee and stand up. Max, kid, boredom is death. Let's go see who stabbed who. He tries to protest, but I'm already at the door. He trails behind me like a puppy on a leash. Rule number 1 in this city. If the cops can't handle it, it's time for me to step in. Max. I'm sitting in Riley's beat-up Ford, which rattles like a tractor and smells of gasoline. Alex is behind the wheel, smirking like he knows something I don't. My superiors told me, "Keep him in line, Max. but I've already figured out that's like trying to hold the wind in your hands. We pull up to Hartley's mansion. The place looks like something out of a sci-fi movie. Glass, steel, and smart speakers that probably call the cops themselves. Inside, it's already swarming with officers, but they're all milling around the body like they're afraid to touch it. Hartley is lying face down, a knife sticking out of his back like a flagpole. Next to him, a shattered smartphone, its glass fragments glinting under the chandelier's light. Riley crouches by the body, inspecting it like it's a piece of art in a museum. "Write this down, Max," he says without looking back. "The knife went in at an angle. The killer's a lefty. And look at the floor sugar. Hartley was diabetic, but this isn't just crumbs from a donut." "Sugar?" I repeat, pulling out my notebook. "That's a clue?" "Max, did you go to a school for idiots? It's a lead, not trash. And here's another thing of feather." He picks up a thin black feather from the floor. "Looks like it's from a hat. Someone here's a fashionista." I jot it down, though I'm not entirely sure where he's going with this. The room is full of guest city elites, all in expensive suits and fake smiles. Lily Marsh, an actress with an angelic face. Reginald Crowe, a banker who reeks of money and trouble. Violet, his mistress, with eyes like a cat's. And Jack Thompson, a former boxer turned bodyguard, with fists the size of my head. "Anyone see what happened?" I asked, trying to sound official. Silence. Riley rolls his eyes. "All right, Max, grab your little pencil. We're shaking down these clowns one by one." I nod, though my mind's racing. How's he even going to do this without a warrant? Chapter 2. Talking to the Elite. Alex Riley. First rule of interrogation: don't let them get comfortable. I start with Jack Thompson. He's sitting with his arms crossed, staring like he wants to deck me. "Jack, you're a boxer," I say, twirling the feather in my fingers. "You used to beat people up for money. Stabbing someone isn't your style, right? Or is it?" "I didn't touch anyone," he growls. "I was at the door guarding." "Guarding, huh? And Hartley with a knife in his back? That's what, a bonus for your shift?" He clenches his fists but stays quiet. I smirk and move on to Lily Marsh. She's smoking a thin cigarette, her eyelashes fluttering like butterfly wings. "Miss Marsh," I lean in closer, "this feather's from your hat, and I heard Hartley had you on a leash. Debts, right?" "You're bold, Mr. Riley." She exhales, smoke in my face. "But I'm not a killer. He was a bastard, but not worth that much. Show me the hat and I'll decide if I believe you." She scoffs, but I see her fingers trembling. Next up is Crow. This slimy guy's sweating, even though the AC is on full blast. "Reginald," I put a hand on his shoulder. "Hartley knew about your shady deals. Maybe you decided to shut him up for good?" "Nonsense." He jerks away. "I have an alibi." "An alibi? You mean Violet? She wouldn't hurt a fly unless it paid her." Last is Violet. She's too calm, sitting there, sipping wine, looking at me like I'm a snack. "You're not worried, huh?" I ask. "Hartley's dead, and you're still acting like you're at the party." "What am I supposed to do, Cry?" She shrugs. "He wasn't a gift." Max whispers in my ear, "You're pissing them all off. Is this even legal?" "Max, people lie when they're comfortable. I make them uncomfortable. Got that?" He nods, but he looks like he wants to bolt. Chapter 3. The Basement and the Fists. Max. Riley drags me down to the mansion's basement. I try to protest we don't have a warrant. This breaks every rule, but he just waves me off. "Max, relax. Warrants are for people afraid to get their hands dirty." The basement is like a bunker. Servers, screens, boxes of papers, Riley rummages in a corner and finds a hidden compartmental hard drive with camera footage. He shines his phone's flashlight on it, like it's pirate treasure. Hartley was blackmailing everyone, he says. Lily, Crow, even Jack. But the files are wiped. Someone hears a hacker and they're damn fast. Riley, this is evidence. We need to turn it in, I almost shout. Turn it in? So your bosses can lose it in 5 minutes? No way. Then the lights go out, and I hear footsteps. 2 thugs burst into the basement. One goes for Riley, the other for me. I try to recall my academy training, but all I manage is a clumsy dance with my fists. Riley grabs a chair, smacks his guy in the knees, and he goes down. My guy pulls a knife, but Alex throws a bottle of whiskey, where did that even come from, and hits him square in the forehead. I finally muster the courage and punch my guy in the jaw. He collapses. We're standing there, panting. Riley grins. Not bad, Max, but next time, hit, don't dance. He takes the drive. I'm quiet, but my mind's racing. What the hell have I gotten myself into? Chapter 4. Following Thomas Gray. Alex Riley. Thomas Gray, a name that sounds like a ghost in this case. Hartley's former partner, a man who, rumor has it, was thrown out of the business with empty hands and shattered hopes. If anyone wanted Hartley dead, Gray's at the top of the list. The problem is, he vanished like smoke after their last fight. But I'm not the type to give up when I can smell the prey. Max, I say, staring out the car window as the city flashes by. Can you run him through your police channels? I need to know where he is. Max nods, already pulling out his phone. Give me half an hour. If he's still in the city, I'll find him. 40 minutes later, we're driving to the outskirts, to a motel with a faded sign reading Northern Star. It's the kind of place where dreams go to die. Peeling paint, flickering neon, and a damp smell that seeped into everything. Max parks, and I check the revolver under my jacket, just in case. Room 12, Max says, glancing at his phone. He was spotted here yesterday. We approach the door, and I knock. Silence. I knock again, harder. Finally, there's a shuffle inside, and the door cracks open. Gray stands there thin, with gray, tangled hair like a mess of wires, and eyes that have seen too much. He looks at us like a cornered animal. What do you want? His voice is hoarse, tired. Thomas Gray? I ask, though I already know the answer. We're here about Hartley. He flinches but plays dumb. Hartley? Don't know any Hartley. Cut it, Thomas. I push the door open and step inside without waiting for an invite. You were his partner until he screwed you over. Now he's dead, and I want to know what you know. Gray backs up to a table where an empty bottle of cheap whiskey sits. The room reeks of booze and despair. He slumps into a chair like his legs can't hold him anymore. Hartley. He stole everything. My business, my life. Set me up with fake contracts. I was left with nothing. And you decided to get revenge? I lean in, locking eyes with him. No, he shakes his head. I wanted him to rot in jail, but kill him? That's not me. Max is scanning the room, and I see him notice something on the nightstand, a pack of cigarettes and a matchbox. Nothing special, but I know he's looking for sugar. Nothing yet. Where were you the night of the murder? I ask. Here, Gray shrugs. Ask the bartender across the street. I got blackout drunk. I can tell he's telling the truth, but something's off. He's too calm for someone just accused of murder. Or too broken to lie. Max. Riley stares at Gray like a hawk eyeing its prey. But I'm not sure this guy's our killer. He looks like he gave up long before any of this started. While Riley grills him, I check out the motel room. There's nothing here tying him to the sugar, just a sticky puddle on the table, probably spilled whiskey. "Let's go," Riley says finally, stepping away from Gray. "We'll check his alibi." We step outside, and I feel the cold wind cut through me. "Do you believe him?" I ask. "Not entirely," Riley replies, lighting a cigarette. "He's holding something back. But if he's not the killer, he knows who is." I nod, getting behind the wheel, and that's when all hell breaks loose. Ambush in the dark, Alex Riley. We're barely out of the motel when I hear the screech of tires. A black SUV barrels down the street, headlights off, heading straight for us. I shove Max to the side just as the vehicle swerves, missing us by inches. Two guys jump out, big, mean-looking bastards with brass knuckles and a glint in their eyes that says they're here for blood. "Get down!" I yell, pulling my revolver. Max ducks behind the car, fumbling for his gun. I fire at the first guy, aiming for his leg. He howls, dropping to the ground, but the second one's on me, swinging those brass knuckles like a sledgehammer. I dodge, but he catches my shoulder, and pain shoots through me like lightning. I grab his arm, twist it, and slam him into the car door. He grunts, but he's not done. Max finally gets his act together and fires a warning shot into the air. The guy hesitates, and I use the moment to knee him in the gut. He doubles over, and I knock him out with the butt of my revolver. We're panting, the cold air burning our lungs. The first guy still on the ground, clutching his leg. I walk over, press my boot to his chest, and point the gun at his face. "Who sent you?" I growl. He spits blood, glaring at me. "You're a dead man, Riley." "Wrong answer," I say, pressing harder. "Try again." "Lane." He finally chokes out. "Richard Lane." I step back, glancing at Max. He's pale but standing, his gun still in hand. "Told you Lane was bad news," I mutter, holstering my revolver. "Let's get out of here before more show up." "Max." My hands are shaking as we get back in the car. I almost froze back there, but Riley didn't hesitate. He's a force of nature, reckless, maybe, but effective. I can see why the precinct wanted me to keep an eye on him, and why they're terrified of him at the same time. "Lane sent them," I say, my voice steadier than I feel. "That means we're getting close." "Too close," Riley replies, lighting another cigarette. "He's rattled. Good. Now we need to find Gray's alibi and see if Lane's name comes up anywhere else." I nod, gripping the steering wheel. This case is bigger than I thought, and I'm starting to realize I'm in way over my head. But there's no turning back now. I glance at Riley, and for the first time, I feel like we're a team. Pieces of the puzzle. Alex Riley. Back at my office, I'm nursing a bruised shoulder and a fresh cup of coffee. Max is flipping through his notebook, piecing together what we've got. The USB drive from Hartley's mansion, the sugar at the scene, Gray's story, it's all starting to form a picture, but it's still blurry. Gray's alibi checks out, Max says, looking up from his phone. The bartender across from the motel confirmed he was there all night, passed out by 10. "Doesn't mean he's clean," I mutter, taking a drag from my cigarette. "He knows more than he's letting on. But Lane sending those goons, that's the real lead." Max nods, then pulls out the file on Victor Crane. Crane's murder matches Hartley's, knife in the back, sugar at the scene, both were blackmailers. "You think Lane's behind both?" "Likely," I say, exhaling smoke. "But we need proof. The USB drive's wiped, but there's got to be something else tying Lane to this. We need to find out who else he's got dirt on." Max looks thoughtful, then says, "What about the sugar? It's too specific to be random. Maybe it's a signature." I raise an eyebrow, impressed. "You're catching on, kid. Sugar's not just a clue, it's a message. We need to find out what it means to Lane." I lean back, staring at the ceiling. The pieces are there, but they're not fitting together yet. Lane's at the center of this web, and I'm gonna drag him out, even if I have to burn the whole thing down. Max. Riley's deep in thought, and I'm starting to see how his mind works. He doesn't just follow lead, she anticipates them. The sugar, the USB drive, Gray's fear, it's all part of a bigger picture, and Riley's determined to see it through. I'm still shaking from the fight, but I'm learning. I'm starting to think like him. "Should we go back to the precinct?" I ask. "Get more on Lane?" "Not yet," Riley says, stubbing out his cigarette. "First, we dig deeper into Crane's murder. If Lane's the sugar killer, there'll be a pattern, and patterns always lead to mistakes." I nod, feeling a surge of determination. We're getting closer, and I'm not backing down now. Not after everything we've been through. A web of lies. Alex Riley. We're parked in a dark alley, the city's neon glow flickering through the windshield. My ribs still ache from the fight at the motel, and Max is still breathing hard, his fingers nervously fidgeting with the edge of his shirt. I set my revolver on my lap and glance at him. "We need to find the connection, Max," I say, my voice low. "Crane's murder, those goons, Lane. It's not random." He nods, though I can see the doubt in his eyes. "But where do we start? We've only got fragments." With what we have, I pull out a crumpled note we found at the motel, a scrap of paper with the initials TK and a phone number scrawled on it. "This is our key." Max takes his phone and dials the number. After a few rings, a raspy female voice answers. She introduces herself as Tessa Crow, Crane's former secretary. We arrange to meet at an abandoned cafe on the outskirts of town. I can feel it, we're on the verge of something big. "Max?" The cafe looks like time forgot it 20 years ago. Shattered windows, a musty smell inside. Tessa's already waiting for USA gaunt woman in her 40s with tired eyes. She lights a cigarette and looks at us like we're ghosts. "You're here about Crane, aren't you?" she asks, exhaling smoke. I knew someone would come eventually. "What do you know?" Riley sits across from her, his voice hard as steel. Tessa smirks. "Crane wasn't just a businessman. He got into dirty deals with lane smuggling, blackmail, murders, but then he wanted out, and they took him out." "Who?" I jump in, my pulse quickening. "I don't know the name," she takes another drag. "But Crane had a list. Names, dates, deals. He hid it before he died. Find that list and you'll know everything." Riley leans closer. "Where is it?" "In his old office," Tessa says, flicking her cigarette butt to the floor. "But don't go there without a plan. They'll be waiting." We leave the cafe with a new goal. The list is our chance to unravel the web of lies stretching from Crane's death to the people who tried to kill us tonight. But I know there's more danger ahead. Riley's already checking his revolver, and I'm trying to steady the tremor in my hands. We're in the game now, and the stakes just keep getting higher. Chapter 8. Crane's List. Alex Riley. Night has fallen over the city like a heavy, damp blanket, carrying the scent of asphalt and decay. Max and I are standing outside Crane's abandoned office-grade building swallowed by shadows. The windows are boarded up, but faint streetlight glows through the cracks. I can feel adrenaline pumping through my veins. This place is a trap, and I know it. But we don't have a choice. Crane's List is our only shot at finding the killer. "Keep your eyes peeled," I whisper to Max, pulling out my revolver. If Tessa's right, they're waiting for us. He nods, gripping a flashlight in one hand and his service pistol in the other. His face is tense, but there's determination in his eyes. This kid's growing on me. We sneak in through the back door. It creaks like something out of a cheap horror flick, and I wince. Inside, it's dark, smelling of dust and something metallic. I turn on my phone's flashlight and lead Max down a corridor where the walls are covered in graffiti. Crane's office is on the second floor, and we climb a rickety staircase. The office looks like it was abandoned in a hurry. An overturned desk, scattered papers, an old safe in the corner. I head for the safe, but Max grabs my arm. Look, he shines his flashlight on the floor. Footprints. Fresh ones. Someone was here recently. Damn it, I mutter. We've been beat to it. I approach the safe, listening carefully. It's old, with a combination lock. I try a combination Crane's birthday, which Max found in the file. Nothing. Then I try the date of his death. Click. The safe opens, and inside is a folder, worn but intact. I pull it out, flip it open. The list, names, dates, amounts, Lane, Hartley, a dozen others, and one name is highlighted in red, Thomas Gray. Here it is, I say, handing the folder to Max. Gray was the key. He knew everything. But I don't get to finish. The office door crashes open, and two figures appear in the doorway, one with a bat, the other with a gun. I dive behind the desk. Max ducks behind the cabinet. A bullet whizzes past my head, embedding itself in the wall. Max, shoot! I yell, raising my revolver. But he hesitates, and I can see his hands shaking. Damn it, the kid's not ready yet. I fire, aiming for the gunman's leg. He screams, dropping his weapon and collapsing. The second guy charges at me with the bat, but I block the swing, jabbing him in the jaw with my elbow. He goes down like a sack of potatoes. Max finally fires, but his bullet hits the ceiling. Well, at least he tried. We tie them up with their own belts. I grab the list and turn to Max. You okay? He nods, though he's pale as a ghost. Yeah, that was my first time. First time's never easy, I say, clapping him on the shoulder. Let's get out of here. Max? My hands are still trembling as we leave the building. I almost let Riley down. He won't say it out loud, but I can tell by the way he glances at me as we head to the car. We've got the list, but I can't shake the feeling that we've only scratched the surface. What now? I ask, getting behind the wheel. Lane, Riley says, lighting a cigarette. He's on the list, and he clearly doesn't want us digging further. Time to pay him a visit. I nod, though my chest tightens. Lane's a shark, and we're swimming right into his jaws. But after tonight, I'm starting to understand why Riley's so good at this. He doesn't just hunt for the truth, he rips it out like a tooth. Face to face with the shark. Alex Riley. Richard Lane lives in a penthouse that looks like it was ripped straight out of a billionaire's magazine. Glass walls, a panoramic view of the city, and furniture that costs more than I've made in my entire life. Max and I stand at the entrance, and I can feel the air crackling with tension. Lane knows we're coming, and I'm sure he's prepared. The door is opened by a bodyguard, a hulking guy with a face like it's carved from stone. I flash him my expired badge, but he doesn't bother checking. Max clutches the folder with the list, his knuckles white from the strain. We step inside, and Lane greets us in the living room, sitting in a leather chair with a glass of whiskey in hand. He's in his 50s, but looks like he could crush you with a glance. Mr. Riley, his voice is as slick as oil. And officer, what's your name? I've heard about you. You're digging into old cases that are better left buried. The past has a way of resurfacing, Lane. I sit across from him without asking, especially when it's tied to murders. Crane, Hartley, and your little blackmail racket. He chuckles, but I catch a flicker of unease in his eyes. You're accusing me of something? Not yet. I nod to Max, who places the folder on the table. But this list speaks for itself. Your name's on it, tied to a bunch of dirty deals, and Crane and Hartley both dead. Coincidence? Lane picks up the folder, flips through it, maintaining his composure. This proves nothing, he says, leaning back. Yes, I knew Crane. We did business. But kill him? Why? He was useful to me. Useful until he wanted out. I lean closer. And Hartley? Was he getting inconvenient too? Lane sets his glass down, his smile turning colder. You're playing a dangerous game, Riley. People who dig too deep often end up at the bottom. Is that a threat? Max cuts in, his voice steadier than I expected. I glance at him, the kid's holding his own. Is it Vice? Lane stands, adjusting his jacket. Now get out before I call my lawyers. We leave, but I know Lane's lying. His calm is a mask, and I can feel it's about to crack. Max? We ride the elevator down, and I'm still clutching the folder, even though Lane's already seen it. Riley's silent, but I can tell he's replaying every word that slimy bastard said. I'm starting to understand how Riley works. He doesn't just look for the truth, he provokes it. He's hiding something, I say, as we get into the car. Of course he is, Riley replies, lighting up and exhaling smoke through the window. But he's no fool. He won't get his hands dirty himself. Those goons at Crane's office, they were his. Then why'd he let us go? I frown. Because he wants us to make the next move, Riley smirks. He thinks we're on his hook, but I love breaking other people's plans. I nod, but my mind's racing. Lane's too confident. He's got a plan, and I'm afraid we're already caught in it. But I can't show weakness in front of Riley Hayes expecting me to prove my worth. What's next? I ask. We go back to Gray, he says, starting the car. He knows more than he's told us. And this time I'll squeeze every last drop out of him. Thomas Gray's Truth. Alex Riley. The Northern Star Motel greets us with the same depressing vibe as last time. Flickering neon, peeling walls, and a stench of despair that feels baked into the building itself. Max and I head to room 12, where Thomas Gray's hiding out. My gut's telling me this visit is going to turn everything we thought we knew upside down. Lane's too calm, which means he's playing his own game. And Gray, I'm betting, is one of his pieces. I knock on the door, but there's no answer. I knock again, harder, and hear shuffling inside. The door cracks open, and there's Gray's same haggard look, tangled hair, but now there's something new in his eyes. Fear. He looks at us like we're ghosts. You again, he mutters, stepping back into the room. I already told you everything I know. Not everything. I step inside without waiting for an invite and sit on a creaky chair. Max closes the door and leans against the wall, his hand on his holster. We found Crane's list, Thomas. Your name's on it, highlighted in red. You knew about the blackmail and the murders. Gray goes pale, his hands trembling as he sits on the bed. I didn't want it to come to this, he says, his voice breaking. Crane, he was my friend. We were trying to get out, but Lane doesn't let go. Keep talking. I lean in, feeling the air in the room grow heavier. What are you hiding? He's silent, but I can see his lips quivering. Finally, he looks up. I was there the night Crane was killed. His voice cracks. I was supposed to meet him, take the list. But when I got there, he was already dead. The sugar, that was Lane's signature. He always left sugar at the scene, his sick joke. Sweet death, he called it. I feel my blood boil. Lane, it fits. But why did Gray keep quiet? Why didn't you go to the police? Max asked, his voice tense. Because Lane threatened my family. Gray clenches his fists. He said if I opened my mouth, my daughter. He trails off, burying his face in his hands. I exchange a look with Max. This changes everything. Lane isn't just a mastermind, he's a cold-blooded killer, playing us like puppet. Where's Lane now? I ask. I don't know. Gray shakes his head. But he's always one step ahead. You need to leave. He knows you're here. That's when I hear the faint but distinct sound. Footsteps outside the door. I stand, pulling my revolver. Max does the same, his eyes wide with tension. Hide, I whisper to Gray. But he's already diving under the bed. Max. My heart's pounding so hard it feels like it might burst out of my chest. I'm standing by the door, gun at the ready, while Riley presses himself against the wall beside me. The footsteps get closer, and I hear someone fiddling with the lock. The door crashes open, and two guys burst in the same goons who attacked us at Crane's office. One's got a gun, the other a knife. Shoot! Riley yells, and this time I don't hesitate. I pull the trigger, the bullet hitting the first guy in the shoulder. He screams, dropping his weapon and collapsing. Riley lunges at the second, knocking the knife from his hand with an elbow strike. They hit the floor, and I see Riley land a punch, then another, until the guy goes limp. We're standing over them, breathing hard. Gray crawls out from under the bed, his face whiter than a sheet. They came for me, he whispers. Lane, he won't stop. Riley wipes blood from his knuckles and looks at me. Good job, kid, he says, and I feel a warmth spread through me. For the first time, he's looking at me like I'm not just a burden. What now? I ask, holstering my gun. Now we go after Lane, Riley says, his voice hard as steel. And this time we pin him down. Chapter 11. The Final Move. Alex Riley. Max and I are sitting in the car across from the skyscraper where Lane set up his fortress. Night has draped the city in a black shroud, and the skyscraper's lights glow like a beacon for moths. Only we're not mothware hunters, and Lane's our prey. After Gray's confession, we've got everything we need to take him down. Crane's list, the connection to the murders, and now we know the sugar is his signature. But I can feel it, Lane won't go down without a fight. Got a plan? Max asks, checking the magazine of his pistol. His voice is steady, but I can see him gripping the handle a little too tight. Plan simple. I light my last cigarette from the pack, exhaling smoke through the window. We go in, find Lane, and make him talk. If he resists, we take him down. What if his guys are there? Max looks at me, and I see not fear, but determination in his eyes. This kid's really stepped up over the past few days. Then we take them down first, I smirked, tossing the cigarette butt onto the asphalt. Let's go, cop. Time to end this case. We get out of the car and head to the skyscraper's service entrance. The doors unlocked, Lane's expecting us, and that puts me on edge. We take the elevator to the top floor, where, according to Max's intel, Lane has his private office. The doors open, and we're met with silence too loud to be natural. Lane's office is the epitome of luxury. A massive blackwood desk, glass walls overlooking the night city, and him sitting in a chair with a glass of whiskey in hand. He doesn't even stand when we walk in. I knew you'd come, he says, his voice as slick as a snake. You're stubborn, but that won't save you. Your game's over, Lane. I tossed the folder with the list onto his desk. Crane, Hartley, the sugar at the scenes. We know everything, and Gray's ready to testify. Lane chuckles, setting his glass down. You think that changes anything? I've got lawyers, connections, money. You can't touch me. Maybe not. I pull my revolver, aiming it at Lane. But I can make sure you regret being born. Max. Riley's got Lane in his sights, and I can feel the air in the room turn heavy. Lane doesn't look scared, he looks confident. That's bad. I'm standing beside Riley, gun ready, but my eyes dart around the room. Something's off. You made a mistake coming here, Lane says, and that's when I hear footsteps behind us. The door bursts open, and 3 guys rush in, 1 with a gun, 2 with clubs. I spin around, firing without thinking. The bullet hits the first guy in the leg, and he goes down screaming. Riley tackles the second, knocking him to the ground, but the third swings his club at me, hitting my shoulder. Pain explodes through my body, but I grab his arm, twisting it. He yells, dropping to his knees. Riley's already handled his guy. I hear a crack as he slams the guy's head into the desk. Lane jumps up, trying to run, but I lunge after him, tackling him to the floor. We go down hard, and I pin him, cuffing his wrists behind his back. Don't move, I growl, snapping the cuffs shut. Riley walks over, breathing heavily, and looks at me with something like respect. Not bad, cop, he said, wiping blood from his lip. We call for backup, and within half an hour, Lane's in cuffs in a police car. Crane's list is the evidence that'll put him away for years, but I know this isn't the end. The city's full of guys like Lane, and Riley and I are just getting started. Epilogue. Whiskey and Cola. Alex Riley. The Lane case is closed. We're sitting in my favorite bar on the edge of town, an old smoky joint where the bartender knows my name and the music from the jukebox sounds like it was recorded before I was born. I'm holding a glass of whiskey, the ice clinking softly as I look at Max. He's sitting across from me, sipping a cola, looking like he aged a decade in just a few days. You did good, kid, I say, raising my glass. Didn't think you'd make it. He smirks, taking a sip of his cola. Honestly, neither did I. But you know how to pull the truth out. I nod, taking a drink. Lane's behind bars. Crane's list has been turned over to the police, and Gray and his daughter are under protection. We solved the murders of Hartley and Crane, but I know this is just the tip of the iceberg. The city's crawling with sharks like Lane, waiting for you to turn your back so they can go for your throat. What's next? Max asks. And there's not just exhaustion in his voice, but curiosity. Next? I set my glass down, meeting his eyes. We keep digging. This city's like a swamp. The deeper you go, the dirtier it gets. But someone's got to clean up the mess, right? He nods, and I see a spark light up in his eyes. This guy's not the green rookie they saddled me with a week ago. He's a partner now. Maybe even a friend. To new cases, I say, raising my glass. To new cases, he replies, clinking his cola against it. Max. I look at Riley, and for the first time, I feel like I found my place. This bar, this city, these cases, they've become part of me. Lane was my first real test, and I passed. Not without mistakes, but I made it. And Riley, this gruff, sarcastic guy who first saw me as a burden, now sees me as an equal. I sip my cola, feeling the exhaustion fade, replaced by anticipation. The city's full of secrets, and Riley and I are just starting to unravel them. I know there are more cases ahead, more dangers, but now I'm ready. For the first time, I feel like I can be part of something bigger. Riley, I say, setting my glass down, Thanks for not kicking me out on the first day. He smirks, finishing his whiskey. Don't thank me, cop. You'll regret sticking with me 100 times over. I laugh, and we sit in silence, listening to the old tune from the jukebox. Tomorrow's a new day, and I know it'll bring new mysteries. But now I'm not alone. I've got a partner,